my name is Guy Wallace, and in this video I'd like to discuss with you EPPA, EPPA, Enterprise Process Performance Architecture. Specifically, why would you want one? Enterprise Process Performance Architecture. It's the center, the core architecture that will drive four other architectures of great importance to the enterprise, its processes, and its ability to perform. First of all, there's the management development architecture. Secondly, the staff development architecture. Thirdly, the learning management systems content architecture. And fourth, the knowledge management systems Wiki architecture. All five of these architectures need to be in sync with each other. And they're all driven by the Enterprise Process Performance Architecture, the core architecture of the enterprise that reflects the business processes, the enterprise processes of the organization. First, let's look at the EPPA. It is an architecture of the entire enterprise and all of its processes. It is a scalable architecture in that it can ramp up and down from the department up to the functional levels and up to the division or business units all the way up to the enterprise. If you think of the budgets at an enterprise level, they roll up to a functional budget, those roll up to a organizational entity such as a division or a business unit, or up to the enterprise depending on the layers and structure of the enterprise itself. The processes are organized in three tiers. This is reflecting the management areas of performance structure that I use when I'm doing management curriculum architectures. There's a leadership set of processes. There's a support set of processes. And in the center, there's a core set of processes where managers plan work, assign work, monitor work, and troubleshoot work. And that work is what makes each department unique from all other departments. And you can see in this graphic that there are blue processes and green processes. In this graphic, the blue ones are owned by the department, and the green ones are owned by other departments that the first department supports. The people in the first department work in a cross-functional process where that process is owned by some other department. So those unique processes of core are the planning, assigning, monitoring, and troubleshooting of work. Work that the department itself owns and that the department supports that's owned by others. There's also the shared processes of the leadership area. Strategic planning is shared across the organization. Operational planning and budgeting and results measurement, etc. Those are all processes that are shared. They're common processes that are uniquely applied department by department. The strategic planning for the sales department is different than the strategic planning for the human resources department. However, they all come together and cascade down from the goals of the enterprise. Support processes such as managing human assets or managing environmental assets are shared processes. The recruiting and selection processes within managing human resources is a shared process. It plays out differently department and department because they're hiring for different jobs. But the policies and procedures that guide that keep it compliant with the laws of the land are shared across every department that uses those. So they are less unique. They are more common, more shared. Next, let's look at the management development architecture. This path on the right is a development path for a manager, in this case here, a warehouse supervisor. The boxes on this path are training and development events or learning events or whatever you want to call them, but they are modular events. And the modules that are pulled together like building blocks to build an event come from a 5-tier content architecture that includes Tier 1 types of content, which are organizational orientations. Welcome to the sales organization, and this is who we are, and this is what we do, and this is our processes. These are our key people. This is what's important to us. This is what our mission goals are. Here's our current challenges. Here's future challenges coming up, not hit our doorstep yet, but are coming, or so we believe, etc. Tier 2 are performance orientations, otherwise known as advanced organizers. Here's the sales process. Let's do an overview, high-level overview of that sales process. This is the performance that will be happening in there. Didn't teach anybody how to do any of it, just demystified it. It's an advanced organizer. Tier 3, the enabling knowledge and skills. Here's the various tools that we use in that sales process, etc. Here's the policies and procedures we must comply with. Here's the interpersonal skills that are key to that. Here's some information technology tools that we use. Here's some other non-IT tools that we use, etc., etc. Tier 4 and 5 are the how to do things, how to set up a sales call. And if that's unique to a job title, it's a Tier 5 type content. If it's shared performance how to, such as filling out an expense report or a travel report, that's not unique to salespeople. Other people in the enterprise do that too. So you can build one set of content for sharing a how-to. That's the management development architecture. This is just part of this. It doesn't begin to describe the analysis. It goes behind the design of the path and the modular content that's represented by the 5-tier content architecture on the left. Next, let's look at the staff development architecture. On the right, we have another path for individual contributors, non-managerial staff, pretty much the same thing as the other path, but it's a path of modular events. And again, on the left, we have the 5-tier inventory structure where we house the next level down below the event level. In your world, that could be called lessons or units or instructional objects, or it's an object-oriented approach to content development. In my own models, my event is comprised of lessons, which are comprised of instructional activities, and after that, you can call it whatever you want. It's a photo, it's a paragraph, it's a graphic of some sort, different levels in a modular approach to architecture. But again, it pulls from the same 5-tier inventory structure of content, because sometimes we can share the same content between individual contributor populations and managerial populations, singing off the same song sheet, so to speak. Now let's look at the learning content management systems architecture. Again, this hangs off of the 5-tier inventory structure with many subcategories in each of the 5 tiers. For example, in Tier 3, the enabling knowledge and skills. There could be content in a subcategory on laws, regulations, and codes, and contracts. The next category, subcategory below that might be policies and procedures. Another category could be internal organizations and an overview of them and what they do and how you might use them. Another category could be external organizations. There could be industry standard groups. There could be reports and documents that we use. There could be tools and equipment. There could be information technology tools and equipment, hardware and software. There could be interpersonal and personal development skills, managerial skills, business skills, etc. Now let's look at the knowledge management systems Wiki architecture. And regardless of whether or not you're using a Wiki as a content management system, it's pretty much the same. If it's not coming out of your learning content management system or LMS or LCMS, then where are you storing all the policies and procedures if they're not part of your LMS or LCMS? Where is this accessible to learners, performers, or to the instructors that need to pull content to make a delivery, or for coaches to pull content from in order to conduct a coaching assignment. Same thing, the 5-tier inventory structure of content with many subcategories. Hopefully the subcategories for this portion of the architectures is the same as the last one, keeping this all in sync with a common taxonomy, with a common set of configurations for content. How are we going to store them? And how does this reflect our business practices and is somewhat unique to our business versus other businesses? All of these things must be in sync, linked. Most often, however, the management development architecture of content is quite disconnected from the enterprise processes themselves. Same with staff development. It's unfortunate, but true. Learning content management systems seem to have an architecture unto itself and not driven and linked by the organizations and its enterprise processes. And when those enterprise processes change, there's no direct link for change management of the architecture of the learning management systems or learning content management systems architecture. And the same with knowledge management systems, knowledge management system wikis, or other content management devices, and those architectures are not in sync with each other. It all starts with the process and the process architecture. Again, an enterprise breaks down into multiple functions. Here's one stream into one function. Functions have multiple departments or teams or whatever you call them in your enterprise. When you look at one department, you can begin to look at the core systems and processes that make that department unique compared to all other departments. But there are those shared leadership systems and processes, and the support systems and processes, where we can share budgeting processes and hiring processes, etc. When we look at a process, there's different ways to model or map those processes. There's the swim lane process map view. I used a performance model view to articulate performance of a process. What is required depends on the balanced requirements of all the stakeholders. Once you have the processes in place, you use that as the centerpiece for all of your architectures. Is it as effective as it could be? Are your processes designed for the efficient delivery to meet stakeholder metrics? That's what you're hoping. If your processes are out of whack and they're not architected, you must start here. I have various PACT and EPPA resources. My book 6-pack is but one of those. But on my website, there's a series of free videos and articles and presentations. There's even a couple of free books available to help you on your journey to creating an enterprise process performance architecture that will drive all of your other architectures. My book on performance competence requirements is for the analysts who will determine the specificity for your processes. The management areas of performance competence provide that same model that we've been discussing that's at the heart, at the department level, for how to frame your processes. Curriculum managers' handbooks are for those who are concerned with the training and development, the learning, and the knowledge management systems content to enable performance through instruction before the need, or at the moment of need, or both. Curriculum architecture design is my approach to architecting those training and development paths that we reviewed earlier. Modular curriculum development is my ADDIE-like set of methods for new product development of performance-based instructional content, whether that instructional content is going to be used as training and development or learning or knowledge management content that resides in some wiki or other content management system. From training to performance improvement, consulting is a book that helps one plan for the smooth transition, the segue from training to performance-based training to performance improvement consulting, which is really what it's all about.